So how do invasive species threaten endangered animals? And do we qualify? Let's talk about that in this video. So should humans be considered an invasive species? Well, there were many environments in which humans were not originally a part of the ecosystems there. As we as a species continue to expand through the planet, more and more areas are becoming impacted by humans. Due to pollution and climate change, some ecosystems have been impacted by humans before any humans actually got there. And here we see a photo of a bag that was found at the bottom of one of the deepest ocean trenches in the world, the first time that an unmanned ROV entered that area. We used a remote-operated vehicle. We traveled to the deepest parts of the ocean to see what species were there, and what we found was that human garbage had preceded us. This piece of plastic from the surface was to a place humans had never been before, and that's just unfortunate. Now, humans are animals. All organisms are found on the tree of life, including us as humans. We are animals, we are vertebrates, in that we have a skull and a backbone. We are mammals, and we are primates. All of these terms accurately describe or include humans. Now, because of our social behaviors and technologies, we have the ability to impact environments to a greater degree than any other animal. Again, looking at this tree of life, we don't know every single branch, but we know that humans, we are found down here, and following this yellow line, we can see our last common shared ancestor was with a herring was quite a while ago. We're talking over 300 million years ago. Being members on the tree of life, having this incredible impact on the environment and the number of species that are present and alive today, do we have a responsibility to preserve and maintain biodiversity? It's again one of those questions that's outside of the realm of science, but definitely within the realm of ethics. What is it that we as humans do that might threaten or risk native species to become extinct or endangered? Well, we modify environments, and often we introduce new species into areas that they hadn't been previously. We as humans hadn't been there before, and we often bring with us other species, both plants and animals, that hadn't been there before. So, introduced or invasive species as a concept. Not only do humans travel into every habitat that technology allows us to, we also usually bring along other organisms with us. We introduce species into new environments for a variety of reasons, whether it's for agriculture or pest control or hunting. These are maybe economic reasons. Sometimes it's just by accident. Insects and rodents and pests travel from one place to another, not intentionally, but just because they were in goods or cargo that we were transporting. Or sometimes we introduce species to new environments just so that new environment feels a little bit more like home. So what these introduced or invasive species do, they will be threats to native species. So many of the threats which would cause a species to become threatened with extinction include habitat loss, competition for resources, pollution, and overharvesting if they're collected by humans for food or for captivity, or also if the predator that was introduced just feeds on the local populations, a predator that they do not have any defenses or adaptations to thwart. So introduced or invasive species are also a threat. I'm reminded of a story that I heard of a lighthouse operator on this small isolated island in the northern Atlantic. This island was the home to a variety of native bird species, and the lighthouse keeper brought his cat with him. Well, that one cat single-handedly caused 3 different species of birds to go extinct because the birds on that island hadn't ever dealt with a predator before, and the cat, with all these prey items around, simply decimated each of the populations. Another thing that can cause native species to be threatened is when they have to compete with new species for resources. So while introduced species may cause competition for food items or nesting locations, it's actually often humans' desire for lumber and converting forest into farmable areas or places to raise livestock that pose the greatest threats for wildlife by changing the habitat. As humans, we modify habitat and change habitat in pretty much every environment we encounter. Introduced or invasive species can often also have this impact of changing an environment. They change aspects of the ecosystem of an area, and these modifications do not usually benefit the native species who were adapted to the original conditions. Our technological advances allow humans to change environments in drastic ways. As humans, we often want to access waterways and bodies of water, but our dwellings require solid ground. When we look at human populations, they are most concentrated at shorelines and along rivers and waterways. The general trend of humans is to reduce the amount of wetlands near bodies of water. We want to build our houses on solid dry ground. We want to drive on solid dry ground. We want to walk on solid dry ground. And yet we want to be near water. So we change marshland and swampland into fields, into housing districts. We redirect water away from wetlands back into the rivers and the streams. But the result is that many species of birds, amphibians, and fish were dependent on those wetlands that we've now eliminated for some, if not all, of their stages of life. Our actions and activities can end up having a big impact on ecosystems. Now, one thing within the last 100 years or so that humans thought was a really good idea were making waterways, rivers, and streams straighter. This way, it would prevent flooding. This way, it would get water out of areas faster. This way, it would allow for unobstructed passage of boats and more direct routes of travel. But this has had a significant negative impact on ecosystems and landscapes. We can change how ecosystems function without allowing water to travel slowly through areas. That water takes with it soil, it takes with it nutrients, it takes with it a bunch of habitats that different species had evolved or developed alongside of. And now, through our human modification, we drastically change these ecosystems. We can also directly and indirectly change the makeup of species present in the ecosystem. When we look at humans' roles in the ecosystems that they're a part of, we are consumers. We are apex predators, meaning there are very few organisms which prey upon adult humans. And of those few that do exist, we as a group are so paranoid of them that we go to extended lengths to kill and eradicate any type of animal we might consider to be a danger to ourselves. But we are far more likely to be decomposed than we are to be consumed. Social interactions allow a group of humans to have tremendous impacts on their environment and the other species in the area. When we look at human population as a total, we are currently in a time of explosive, exponential growth. Now, not every human population is growing at exactly the same rate, and when we look it up in geographical areas, we might find that some populations are declining while others are expanding rapidly. Now, there are some species which do thrive in human-modified environments. Domesticated animals and livestock, pigeons and seagulls, rats and raccoons and coyotes. These are examples of species which thrive when humans have modified the environment. But most species are less abundant in human-modified environments than they are in undisturbed environments. Is there a way that humans are able to benefit ecosystems by being present? Can humans provide a net good? Well, it turns out most of the improvements that humans make to an ecosystem are simply repair to damage that we had caused previously. But we can take those steps to try to repair some of those things we've broken. Our actions can result in restoration. Now, our actions can also make some environments more hospitable to life. For instance, here in the Mojave Desert, through human actions, we're able to bring water to the surface, to parts of the desert, and make it available to allow a large diversity of organisms to flourish and grow here. What would the Las Vegas Valley look like without humans pumping water to the surface? There'd be a lot different makeup of plants in the area of Las Vegas if we did not have irrigation. Now, in doing so, and allowing those plants to grow and introducing a bunch of introduced species now to the Mojave Desert, is that a good thing? Are our actions morally right? This completes the lecture notes for this semester. We'll still be working on your final projects within these last 2 weeks here, but hopefully, through our time together, you've been able to learn more about science, more about how biologists think, but also this interesting dynamic between ethics and science. Thank you for your attention. And this completes the lecture content for Biology 101. I hope you found this course interesting.